Because I honestly expect there to be quite a few movies. Like I know it's like probably kind of a I don't know how to, I can't think of the word, but like I think there will probably be a few movies if it's successful.
Yeah, that's my hope that it's successsul. We've talked about Resident Evil a bunch of times on here on my channel, and the one thing I enjoy most about the games is the story, and I know you do too. And I hope that's one thing they're able to transcend the most. Is again, it doesn't have to be exactly verbatim the game, but give it some familiarity to your video game audience.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And see, I don't really get why I don't get why there's because Resident Evil, like a lot of people talk about how games don't really translate well into live action, but Resident Evil actually could. That's what's kind of weird about it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry to repeat myself because my camera cut off when that other call came in, so I'm gonna have to repeat some of my questions here to you. But
Oh, that's fine.
what did you? What are your thoughts on them having Chris, Claire, Jill, more so Chris and Jill, because we know their story sort of ends with one, but Jill is in Raccoon City. Do you think that Jill is going to be heavily involved in this story?
Maybe, possibly, but I don't think she's gonna be heavily involved in this one. I think like there's probably gonna be something where she's attacked by Nemesis, and maybe that story's gonna get its own.
Hello?
I'm still here.
Sorry, you cut out there.
Oh, I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think she's gonna be heavily involved with this one. But I think something's gonna happen, like where she's gonna get attacked by Nemesis, and then like Nemesis is gonna get his own movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that actually if they somehow split this or even like filmed it simultaneously in a weird way. What are your thoughts on that they're actually going to have now Albert Wesker has been cast. Do you think he plays a major role in this movie?
That's actually a good question. I think honestly, I think with this one, I guess it depends on how much they're gonna follow with the first one. If they follow some of the first one, depending on how, probably because she's part of I think if they do it with the second one, he might just be a minor, like he might just play a minor role, but then he'll probably be more important in other movies, well, later movies.
Yeah. Do you think he's do you think he's going to get like an extended story with this?
Yeah, I think he will, and I wouldn't mind that either.
No, I wouldn't either. I'm my biggest like question with Wesker being in this is how much are they going to reveal about his involved? Like we know the twist in one, everybody knows it that he turns. My Now we know he was introduced in the other Resident Evil movies. My biggest question is how much are they going to reveal in this movie about their Wesker? That I guess that's my biggest question with this, with him.
Yeah, I do wonder what they're gonna do with him.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do it right. Unlike the other movies.
Yeah, me and Daniel do not like the other Resident Evil installments, as we've made very public on this channel. Um, what are your? We are going to get some. We know we're going to get zombies, but we know we're going to get lickers too. I'm really curious to see how they do this inside the police station.
Oh yeah. Oh, and who's involved with making the movies is listening, please call them lickers this time. Do not call them hunters like last time.
Yeah, that's true too. They messed it up. What are your thoughts on that? Well, sorry, wrong question. What do you think that Leon? They're going to change any aspect of Leon at all?
Um, um, I don't. I'm not sure. Like,
Yeah.
because the guy who plays him looks like he, but I'm not really super familiar with his.
Well, what I mean is, and I'm sorry, I should have phrased this a little better. Do you think they're maybe going to make him, where instead of him joining just the police, just like the Raccoon City Police Department, do you think he's going to be maybe showing up, joining like stars?
Actually, I could see them doing that. Like, I'm not saying they will, but yeah, I could definitely see that. It might be easier because some people might get confused. If I say Chris and Jill are stars, and then Leon's just a rookie.
Yeah, there is that too. I am curious to see like if they do change him at all, if they change like his reasoning for going, reasoning for showing up at all. I don't think Claire's is going to get changed. At least again, that could be the thing too. Claire could be the one coming to join Stars because her brother was already there, a member of the Stars team. So again, that's sort of where I'm curious too. Is there going to be any change to the dynamic of those two characters' stories? Do you think we'll see Mr. X in this?
That's what. You know what? I didn't mention Nemesis, but I'm not. You know what? I think they will. Yeah, because now people are probably more familiar with the remake. He's in the for those that, but he's no matter what, he's in the second. I mean, in the remake. Like, there's no way. Like, no matter what you do, he's in the remake. So yeah, I think he actually will be. But I don't know if now that you mentioned, I don't know if Nemesis will be or not, because people might be confused just because they're both like giant, monsters basically.
Yeah, I'm curious to like. I'm curious if we'll see Doctor Birkin in this too, because Doctor Birkin and Mister X sort of have a
Oh
encounter.
wait, oh, that's right. Yeah. Wait, is Birkin did whoever played Birkin is like is the perfect person who played Birkin cast yet, or do you not know?
I don't believe so. No, I don't think there is a Birkin cast yet.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
I know they just
I know
cast.
there's
Sorry, go ahead.
the Chief Irons already.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was just saying that there's one for
Hello. And
oh, sorry. Oh, don't worry, I'm still here.
Skype's being a little temperamental with us a little bit, but do you think we know they cast Chief Irons like you were saying? I'm hoping they cast the Birkin. I think he's a part of this story too. So that's my hope that William Birkin does get cast.
Yeah, definitely. And I wonder if they're gonna go into his story, like about how Wesker and oh, sorry, I was actually thinking about Dr. Marcus. Sorry about that, but yeah. Well, I mean, William Birkin is involved. William Birkin and basically have him killed, but technically speaking, that wouldn't really make sense to show in this unless they're going to talk about Dr. Marcus too. But they probably will. You never know.
That's what I'm curious too. Are they? Do you think they'll get into any of the betrayal of Birkin and Wesker to Dr. Marcus?
I think they might, but maybe not. But I think they'll probably definitely, show Birkin getting killed.
Yeah.
What happens is they're following the second one.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder if this series is going to get a prequel like the games did, and maybe that's going to be like following Zero.
I'm curious to. Well, here's the interesting part too, because with Jill being in this, is we've talked about maybe this will just be two different films, and Jill's in the movie, and we only see parts of her. I'm curious that if while they're showing this movie, like, are they going to show not just Nemesis, obviously, or maybe Jill, but maybe explain what happened into the mansion for people who aren't familiar with it, what exactly went down, because Leon and Claire are trying to look for some answers when they're in that police station.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm trying to think.
The thing about this is like with the movies they made. Well, the first movie they made already, they there was a mansion, but they were only in it for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, the mansion had like a lower level to it, like a hive they called it, that where the infestation had sort of started. I don't know if they're going to what they're going to have in this police station, like if they're going to have like the lower levels of that. That's I'm sort of hoping they do, and I'm hoping we get Ada Wong in this, obviously. So
Oh yeah, hopefully.
yeah, right.
I was actually surprised to see that. I was actually surprised to see that she was in Romero's script. To be honest.
That is true. Ramiro had a lot of people, though. He had a lot of characters.
That's true. What's actually also interesting is he had a scientist. I think his name was John Marcus. What's weird, Invisible Zero wasn't out yet when that script was written. So I wonder if they told him that future plans when he was writing it.
I don't know. Maybe when he was writing it, he had talked to the creators and they told him, who sort of started all of this with like who because when you're doing like a bit of an origin to your story, you want to know who found the T virus, like who actually created the damn thing. So maybe he asked the game developers, okay, who created the T virus, who started this whole nonsense.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. I think we mentioned this before about how the movies screwed up who created it, but um I didn't notice this the first time I watched the second movie, but they actually screwed up. See, the guy who created the virus, he was shot in the head, but then he became a zombie.
Yeah.
It's pretty established that like killed, you don't become a zombie. Well, in Resident Evil, at least.
I'm sorry, you like broke up that whole sentence. Can you repeat that?
Oh yeah. So I saw like not too long ago. I saw a little bit of the second Resident Evil movie, and on TV.
Yeah.
And there's actually a part where the guy who created the virus in that continuity, well, in the second one, they changed it in the last one, but he actually gets shot in the head, and then he becomes a zombie after that. He was a zombie if you're killed before before you're zombified.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see the Umbrella Special Forces team with Hunk? Do you think we see that in this movie?
I think we probably will, but it probably won't be like a a major part. Like, I know it's kind of weird, but I think it'll be like a small part. But then like I was saying with Nemesis, he'll probably be important like in the future.
Yeah. I'm curious to see with I don't think we'll get like a ton of answers in this movie because again, this is sort of they're rebooting it with this movie here. And usually we don't get a ton of answers in an opening reboot. Now, I could be wrong and we do get a shitload of answers in one whole film, like the Star Wars prequels, but but again, I'm that's what I'm most curious to see how much exactly they're going to tell the audience, and not tell them.
Yeah, I do. I wonder that too. But yeah, you're kind of right. They probably won't tell. We'll probably find out later. In sequels. I hope there's. I could be wrong, but I do hope this, and I do think this as well. I think there will be at least 6 movies, but that's where it's kind of complicated because there's already fans of the other movies that just think this is stupid. And I even saw someone say, "No thanks, I'll stick with the original and Mila Jovovich." It's like, but that's not the original story. But okay.
Do you think that maybe Chief Irons' betrayal in the movie is going to be a lot larger than it was in the game?
Yeah, I think it will be, honest.
Yeah.
One thing I do wonder about is I think it's the mayor's daughter, but he actually kills her and he does taxidermy on her. I wonder if that's going to be in the movie too. I know it's kind of not fully. I know it's kind of off topic to what you're talking about, but it's just something he did. If he does that, it's probably definitely going to have an R rating.
It probably is too. I think this movie will be rated R. I can't see it being rated PG-13 for everything I think they're going to have in it, especially liquors. I think definitely this movie is going to get an R rating. I think we're going to see a lot of gore in this movie, which again, it's a zombie movie. You should see gore, especially in this day and age.
That's true. Yeah.
So I do think I agree with you. I think we're going to get an R rating. Do you think that they're going to get into, if they have Ada in this at all, do you think they're going to have any bit of background on her, or they're just going to go off the basis of the game and just go with like gamers like you and I, like people who are familiar with it, they're just going to go, you know what, they'll know who she is and we're just not going to get into her in this story?
That's actually a good question. I think they're probably gonna go with the second one. I would. They probably should go with this. Like actually explain who she is and all that. But I don't know. Again, the writers of this newer one, they actually seem more like they know what they're doing than Paul W. Sanderson did. So maybe they will go the origin route.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how, because again, the remake is fresh in our minds, and even the original Resident Evil 2 is. I'm curious to see how much of both those games are going to be in this film, especially with the remake. Like, how much are they going to sort of, where you're going to look at a scene and go, that's right from the game, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I wonder that too, because I would like to see the giant spiders in the sewers, but those weren't in the remake,
No, they weren't. They had weird parasite creatures in the remake. They took away the spiders completely.
Yeah, that's true. And those creatures they replaced them with, they were actually pretty annoying too.
Yeah, they were too. Um, I hope that out of all the characters in this movie, I know they're going to have Leon and Claire together, but if Jill's in this movie, if we sort of get a 2-for-1 movie, like if we get, in a weird way, if we get 3 and 2 together, where it's both movies at once, how would you feel about that?
Actually wouldn't mind that.
I wouldn't either.
How do you feel about that?
I wouldn't mind. I would.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it at all. That's sort of the curious situation with this. Like going into this, like we've seen. Well, you've seen all of the older movies, the other ones. I've only seen like a couple of them, and the first two stick out in my mind because we did have Jill in part two. So I'm curious to see with this, like with this adaptation that they're doing. I'm curious that okay, we know Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, we know when they take place. We know which one takes place first. But if two events happen close enough, they can almost happen at similar times or close enough times you could show them together. So that's sort of my mindset that we could see it done that way. And would it be trippy? Sure it would, but I'd be all for it if they did it that way.
Yeah, I definitely see your point.
Yeah.
Now, what's also kind of interesting about them going back to 1998, though, is if you want to get technical, that means these movies. I mean, they're different continuity, but not so it doesn't really count. But time frame wise, these movies would actually take place before the other live action movies because like 2002.
Yeah, that is true. Do you think that's why they're doing it, or no, they're just doing it because that's when the game took place?
I think it's just because the game that's when the games took place, but you never know. Like, but I think that's because of the games because they're it seems like this one is definitely a different continuity entirely.
I think a lot of the reason too they're not setting it in modern day, like 2020, even the year we're all living in. I mean, think about what the hell this year has been. I think if you set a zombie movie in 2020, people are going to be like, yeah, with how everything else turned out, yeah, we could believe that shit, you know.
Actually, that is a good point. In fact, to be honest, I was actually surprised they released the Resident Evil 3 remake because of the pandemic. But honestly, they should have delayed it because of. I know, like I have heard people say that it wasn't, but yeah, it clearly was.
I mean, Nemesis looked good. We've talked about this. We reviewed this together. Me and Daniel usually do Resident Evil videos together, and it was again there was a lot of cutscenes in this, and it just seemed like for every little thing, especially when Nemesis got involved, which is it's sort of like going on a date with Jill. That's sort of how I described it. But instead of Jill's father being your chaperone, Nemesis is your chaperone, and he's an annoying goddamn chaperone.
Oh yeah, pretty much. And like I think I mentioned this in one of the other videos we talked about this, but yeah, there's actually certain buildings you can go into and he won't follow you in. Like he'll just look in the window.
You know, just looking at you like, hi. The one that I was shocked that he came in at because not all save points that you walk into are safe. There's a save point that has two entryways, and it's sort of in a weird location. It's like where that one safe is, where that guy kills himself, and he says about there's some riddle involved with a female painting or something, or a female picture or something, but to get the safe code. But there's a room right before that where there's a save point. Well, Nemesis can go in and out of that room all he wants and come in and kill you.
Oh, that's actually pretty interesting. I might have known that, but I'm not really sure because I haven't played in quite a while. Like, pretty much, I haven't played since, like, I want to say March.
Yeah, that's about the last time I think that's about the last time I played it too. Was around March. Uh, what do you? Resident Evil Village is going to come out. What are your expectations for it?
Well, I think it's actually gonna be pretty good. Like, and I know people are already hating on it because that's how people are. But I actually think it looks pretty good. And for those that don't know, there's gonna be werewolves. Well, allegedly, well, I think that's gonna be a virus, parasite, or the mold. And I think it's gonna be the mold because it seems like kind of a sequel to Resident Evil 7. But for those that don't know, I was actually hoping the werewolf thing was true. Because I think it sounds interesting, and it's also something different. They're zombies, so why not have werewolves too? And I know people say like, that's not how werewolves work, which I, it's not real. It's a game, but.
Well, here's the thing too. We're not. When you think about Resident Evil and you think about all the virus adaptations that we've seen throughout the games, like go back to even the first one, we saw a giant ass snake that was basically a mutated form of the virus. So there's that too. I mean, the virus does affect animals. It affected even in the original there were sharks. So to say that maybe they injected a dog, maybe they had a human and injected like dog DNA, and that's what came out was a werewolf. If they have that, that's gonna, if that's in there, if that's little story tidbit is in there, that's gonna be sick.
Well, yeah, I didn't think about that, but that could be because and how Umbrella does like stuff like that with genetics.
Yeah, they do too. Do you think Blue Umbrella gets revealed as bad in this game?
Yeah, I think that's probably what's gonna happen. I think that's what's gonna happen. But it's probably gonna be something like with Chris. It's probably because Chris does seem like he might be like a little depressed. But yeah, I think that might be what happened. Like he finds out like they actually turn on him, and he's like, "I knew you guys were bad" or something like that. And then he tries to find Mia or something to do with Ethan, even by himself.
I think there's two endings to Resident Evil 7. There's the ending with Mia and there's the ending without Mia. And I think with this game, the fucking developers banked on everybody picking the ending with Mia to have this follow up.
Oh yeah, that's true. You know what? That's one thing I kind of didn't like about Resident Evil 7 because no matter who you choose, the other one makes you seem like a complete dick.
Right, right. That's what I said when I made the choice. I'm gonna be honest with you. My first walkthrough, I did not choose Mia. I'm thinking, man, this woman, because I'm looking at her, I'm thinking, man, this woman lied to my character. She did everything to undermine my character. Man, I'm ditching her.
Well, that's true. If you think about it, there is a reason to help Chloe too, because Chloe, I can't believe she likes to call her Chloe. Zoe, sorry about that. She actually does help you throughout the game.
Right. I think out of all the, like, we know Ethan is sort of a victim, but he's sort of a victim of himself too, because he's so like love struck. He's coming for the woman he loves. But the real victim in this, I would say, is Zoe. That, and that's sort of why I chose her, because it's like, man, this woman did not ask for any of this shit.
Well, that's true, and it's pretty much family before all that happened too.
Right, the whole family. My God. Yeah, Resident Evil 7 is a it's really fascinating because were you when you got to that part where you had to choose me or Zoe, were you expecting them? Were you expecting that, like, oh, you have to choose now?
Um, I actually wasn't, to be honest.
Yeah, see, I wasn't either.
I don't really know so, but I really wasn't.
See,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just wondering. Thinking back, I probably should have, because she injected into her dad. But then again, you never know. Maybe there could have been enough in one vial too. You never know.
right. That's the thing. Like you said, Zoe's helping you throughout the game, and when you come to like that crossroad point before you're like going through the river on a boat, it's like, well, now you have to choose, and it's like, wait, what? I have to choose between these two? it's it's crazy. It's just, I'm curious to see if they do anything like that with this new game, but we're excited about the movie, and we're excited about the game. Do you think they'll do you think they'll have Leon and Claire's ending together in this movie, or there'll be two separate endings in one movie?
Um, I think they'll probably have it together, to make it easier. You
Yeah,
never know. They could do it separately.
yeah. Do you think they're going to mention? I'm curious to see if we're going to get Brad, the helicopter pilot, in this movie. I don't think he's been cast in this movie. If Brad gets cast in this movie, something's going to go down with him in jail.
I actually think he should be, but see, well, I mean, he should be in the series, like when the Nemesis. But I think they should actually mix the remake and the original, how he died. Like I think they should use the remake where he fights off Nemesis, but then they should use the original with how Nemesis kills him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in the original, when he gets killed by Nemesis, it's like, it's really well done. I love that version. I love the original Resident Evil 3, not the remake. I just a lot of a lot of the original was terrifying. Nemesis scared the shit out of you in Resident Evil 3, the original. It's like, by God, why can't you just leave me the hell alone?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I cannot believe how much they butchered that in the remake.
The gunplay is badass. I will give it that.
Oh, with Resident Evil 7, you know how you inject a Jack with a cure or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I actually assumed he was cured, but apparently not, because there's a DLC where his brother ends up killing him and saves Zoe. It's like, I was confused when I found out. I was like, wait, but I thought he was cured.
Right? It's crazy because the whole game, it's weird how the game is really, because you're in first person throughout the whole game, and you get these little injections to put into your arm, like if your life is low, and like you said, at the end you get the cure, but throughout the game you get these like coins where you can buy stuff, like you can buy stuff in these little machines. it's it's really an interesting way how they did Resident Evil 7. I'm curious to see what they do with Resident Evil 8 to how we're going to get weapons or how we're going to get this or that. I don't think it'll be the same exact way, mind you, but I am curious to see what they have in store. Not just monsters, obviously. We know that. We know we're expecting monsters. We're expecting everything but the kitchen, well, maybe even the kitchen sink to be thrown at us. But I'm curious to see how exactly what they're going to allow you to do from a cure standpoint of healing and weapons in the game.
But yeah, that's a yeah. I kind of wonder about that too. I also thought about something else too. Like, as we mentioned the werewolves, like people also, there's also like gonna be like vampires or something like that. But I think it could be the same thing you were mentioning with the dogs. Maybe like they mixed bat DNA with human DNA.
I'm Here's the thing too. Remember, they were there was some people talking about how Ethan might be hallucinating some of these things that's going on. So, do you think there's going to be some of it that is hallucinated?
Yeah, I can see that. I know that was. I don't know if you know, but that was actually a planned idea for Resident Evil 4. There was going to be hallucinations originally. There was going to be paranormal stuff. So
Yeah,
maybe they're recycling that idea.
yeah, that could be. Again, it's going to be real interesting to see. I do
I see.
agree.
I kind of wonder.
Go ahead.
Oh, I remember. Oh, that's fine though. I actually forgot what I was saying, but oh man, I hate when that happens. It's all good though. It's not your fault.
No. Well, what I was
Oh yeah,
saying.
but I could. Okay.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I I think I did say this. I might have already said this, but yeah, I I could see like it being hallucinations, because like some of it being hallucinations, they will be. Like that'll be interesting to see if they do that.
Yeah, I sort of get what you're saying. Like we talked about the werewolves and how inject they could inject human dog DNA with human DNA. Could they inject bat DNA into humans? Keep in mind, Wesker's daughter is supposed to be some sort of weird, I don't know, witch or something. So, again, it just seems like there's going to be a lot of chaos in this. And again, I'm sort of wondering, is it a serum or is it some sort of witchcraft that they're trying to pull now? And that's sort of what's really going to be crazy if they're trying to, if they're doing, like, if they take the serum idea and say, no, we got a new way, that's going to be the real interesting take of, are they going a whole new direction with Resident Evil within these series? Do you think that's possible?
Possible, like, because I know people always said like it's never been paranormal and shit, but see the thing is, just because there wasn't paranormal stuff doesn't mean the paranormal doesn't exist in that world. If you think about it, that might be why the police department knew about, well, they call them zombies. That might be why, because they knew about zombies from folklore.
Yeah. What's the one thing you hope to see in the new Resident Evil movie?
I'd say they should definitely have the tyrant, and they should have like they should like have it as, oh wait, I guess not. I forgot they're following the second one kind of. Well, never know. I guess he could still be in it.
Well, um, when the Doctor injects himself in part two, he's sort of like a weird tyrant, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Oh yeah, that'd be definitely cool, Birkin. Because how Birkin is. Yeah, I'd like to see him.
Yeah. I'm hoping that they, with Resident Evil 2, the movie, that they find a way to with all, I mean, because they do have a lot of characters coming in, and we've talked about all these characters that are going to be in this story. I'm I'm hoping they get as much out with all of these characters in this movie. I don't know how long the movie is going to be, obviously, but I hope they get as much story out with each character that they're putting in the film. If Jill's honestly going to be there, then put Jill's story in there, and what's Wesker's role, and what how big of a role does he have in this film. So that's my hope, that they're going to get all these characters across from a story standpoint.
Oh yeah, hopefully they do that. Now, do you think this movie series will have their own Alice, or do you think Alice will be completely out of this one?
I don't think we're going to get an Alice in this one.
Yeah, hopefully not, but you never know. But if they do have Alice, I want her to be like the other characters. She's just a regular person. Well, like physically.
I guarantee you, if they have an Alice in this movie, it's going to be like it's going to be either a slight at the other movie, or it's going to be whether it's going to be like the simplest character, and it's going to get killed off. But I don't think they'll have Alice in this movie um, at all. Or maybe they'll just have a character called Alice and they'll kill the character off. That'll be interesting if they do that. But I don't think they'll have an Alice in this movie. I hope not.
Oh, it'd be kind of funny if it's like follows the games and everything. And then obviously there's credits, and then there's post-credit scene where it shows a lady and she says, "My name is Alice."
I think that would be, I wasted my money to watch the movie then. That's what that would be.
What if it turns out to be Alice's nightmare?
Movies have had, here's the thing with twists in movies, even whether it's horror or not, there have been some strange twists in movies. I mean, strange. You want to look at a strange twist, look at The Usual Suspects. It has one of the best twists, but yet it's weird too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh man. So, anything you want to add before we get on out of here, man?
Oh yeah, like I said, I hope Resident Evil 8 is good, or Village, whatever you call it. Oh yeah, the whole thing with witchcraft. I kind of thought about that. Like, I don't think, the witch or witches. I don't think there'll be witches. Like, I think there will probably be something like powers because of the virus or something. I know that sounds crazy, but if you think about it, they've already done the Wesker. Like, he has all these amazing abilities.
I'm curious to. Now we know Wesker had a son named Jake, and he had some sort of immunity. Do you think that could sort of be the Wesker immunity, where they're, instead of turning into zombies or creatures, that they have it, instead of it making it do that, that the virus gives them some sort of special power or ability, that's their immunity?
Oh yeah, I could definitely see that. Because Wesker. I mean, like you said, Jake had that. What's interesting is Jake was born naturally. Like, he didn't even know who his dad was. He was his illegitimate son. But so maybe it is like a DNA thing.
I love Chris and Jake's interaction with each other.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was pretty. Yeah, like, yeah, I couldn't believe when he actually said, like, all you jarheads look the same to me.
That was funny. There's a lot of great dialogue in that game. It's just the game itself. It's not a great Resident Evil game, but it has a lot of great dialogue in it.
But yeah, I'd say that. I think the problem is like they tried to add too much action to it.
They did. There's just a. It's not I wouldn't call it a shooter. You know what I mean? But it's for all the. It's sort of like an action, like you said, an action game inside a zombie game.
I did like Leon's campaign though.
Yeah, I think that's where they got both of us. They hooked every Resident Evil fan with Leon's campaign. Leon's campaign was a good playthrough through that game.
I didn't mind Ada's either, but it was kind of weird to find out that the fake Ada was another lady that used the virus to look like her.
Right, right. Like, Leon's campaign, I think out of like all three of them, was the creepiest.
Yeah, I'd say that too.
Yeah, but we're obviously excited about the movie. We're excited about the new game. I can't wait to see this movie, Daniel, and I know you can't either, man. It's just, it's really, I hope it does really well, you know. But so yeah, it just,
Oh, dude, that's one thing I'm a little worried about because, like I said, I guess. Okay.
no, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was just saying like I am a little worried though because like there's some people who don't know about the game and some people might think well they just changed a bunch of stuff when in reality it's actually the opposite. They went back to the original story.
I think I would be a little more concerned with that if they didn't have, like, if the remake never got made. And think about it, the Resident Evil 2 remake, we discussed this long before it ever came out, that when the remake was still being rumored, I mean, the remake took forever. The Resident Evil 2 remake took forever to come out, whereas Nemesis, the Resident Evil 3 Nemesis didn't. You know, it was sort of like the opposite. We waited and waited and waited for 2 to be remade. We didn't wait too long after 2 to get 3.
Oh yeah, sure. How the second remake? Well, I mean, yeah, that took like what? He's right though. It took a long time.
I'm sorry, man. Like, you cut out for most of that. Can you go ahead and repeat that?
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, the remake. Well, the remake of the second one. That took like what 4 years? I think it was 4 years after it was announced. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did take. Well, it actually took forever.
Yeah, 2 took a long time, and it was worth the wait, though. I mean, I have no real complaints about the game. They shortened it to make it look different, which made sense. I, I give the game a solid 10. I mean, I know we gave it a great ranking when we did our review. It just, was I bummed out about 3? Yeah. I mean, I was. I can't look at 3. To me, the original Resident Evil 3 holds up. I mean, if you want to go play the real Nemesis game, go play the original.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, play the original.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, craziness, craziness. Um, is there anything you want to add, man?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. I want to thank Daniel for joining me. We were talking about Resident Evil 2, the movie, and we threw in some Resident Evil Village discussion for you guys. I really enjoyed bringing you on, man. Thank you so much for joining me and coming on and dealing with the pain in the ass that is Skype.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me.
Take care, man.
Yep, you too.
Bye.